and welcome to the 12th episode of the Creative Wanderer podcast.
Your weekly jaunt into creative inspiration.
We are Joe and
Amelia.
Hello, Amelia.
Hello, Joe. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in this week.
Today, we'll be talking about week 11 of the Artist's Way, recovering a sense of autonomy. We've reached the point in our Artist's Way journey where we give ourselves the permission to be artists. We are stepping into our independence as we come to terms with the fact that a creative life is fluid and not set in stone. It is time for some serious self-acceptance, self-nurturing and self-love. Julia shares a plethora of her own personal tips on how to set boundaries when it comes to our artistic autonomy.
Oh, sounds like a very chilled week.
Definitely. If you would like an extra member of your sacred circle, Amelia and I are very happy to be able to offer you our support in a number of ways. You can email us to let us know what you're enjoying or what you're struggling with at creative_wanderer@yahoo.com. Please follow us on Instagram at Creative Wanderer. You just need to replace part of creative with the number 8 and the beginning of Wanderer with the number 1. You can share pictures, quotes you've been inspired by, or affirmations which resonate with you. And if you get in touch with us, we can give you a shout out, just like we're going to give someone a shout out right now.
Yay!
Who do we have, Amelia?
We have Ellen Sinclair. Ellen got in touch with us and said the following. Hi, Amelia and Joe. Thank you so much for your wonderful podcast and for sharing your insights and inspiration as you follow the amazing artist way. I first worked through the book a few years ago and your podcast has brought back its magic for me. Particularly valuable is the reminder that life can and should be playful and full of joy and wonder, and that following your joy leads you down the right path. The first time I did the Artist Way course, I followed it religiously and I found it completely magical. I'm not properly following all the exercises this time round, but your podcast is giving me a wonderful reminder of the lessons in the book. I look forward to the next episodes of The Creative Wanderer. It is such a delight to listen to, and I feel connected to a community of like-minded wanderers.
How lovely.
I know.
That's great to hear.
That's what we're all about. Ellen Sinclair is a life coach and a Reiki master. She has been practicing since 2016 when she launched her practice, Your Best Possible World. From an early age, Ellen was fascinated by the big questions. Why are we here? What's it all about? For Ellen, philosophy is not merely theoretical, but rather a way to approach life with curiosity and open awareness. This path led her to discover her natural gifts as a healer and initiative coach. Ellen was first initiated as a pranic healer and later trained as a Reiki practitioner, eventually becoming a Reiki master. Ellen's healing practice has evolved to incorporate crystals, sound vibration, and aromatherapy, which amplify her channeled healing energy. She augments her healing work with coaching conversations to offer clients a holistic service.
I think I need to book in.
Me too. It sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for getting in touch with us, Ellen, and for your lovely words.
Thank you, Ellen. And you can find out about Ellen on our Medium blog page, all of the ways that you can get in touch with her. And if you would like to have a shout out, please just get in touch with us. You can email us or you can send us a wee message on Instagram.
Yay.
So Amelia, how did you find this week of autonomy?
It was a very calming, serene, chilled out week for me.
Yay.
I just reveled in the fact that this week addressed our autonomy and our self-acceptance, us giving ourselves the permission to be who we are, because that's where it starts.
Definitely.
This week brought a sense of liberation and flow for me. We have started working on recovering and rehabilitating our artistic identity for real now, I think.
Yeah.
And I realized I have not been proclaiming and affirming my identity as a creative enough, or hardly at all. So just being able to say out loud that I am a creative being brought out much healing and joy. So delving into the success and money section assured me that a creative career requires flexibility when it comes to finances, and that our deep-rooted need to express our creativity comes before a balance sheet.
Yes.
And I love discovering how my exercise routine can be turned into a moving meditative practice. I also realized that I have unwittingly set up a number of creative rituals and altars in my life which are constantly fueling my imagination.
That's wonderful, isn't it? What a great week you had.
I know, but do you know what? Previous weeks have been like chugga, 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 full of kind of hard work and uncovering and digging up all the blocks. Whereas this week was just self-love.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? It was warm. It was almost like cuddly as a teddy bear.
Yes.
How was it for you? Did you also encounter a cuddly teddy bear on your path?
Well, I didn't necessarily encounter a cuddly teddy bear, but I really enjoyed the tasks. And task number 1 was all about reading aloud and recording yourself reading the basic principles.
Yes.
But I also recorded my artist prayer and the letters I wrote as my 8-year-old self and one I wrote to my 8-year-old self. And I found these really healing, actually. They were full of hope and then resilience, writing as my 80-year-old to me now. I felt like you'd stay on the right path and you'd stay resilient and, you'd be fine. And I thought it was great because this pertained to me as an artist, but generally in life. It was a perfect part of the week.
I think the reason it felt so warm and fuzzy for me is that over the past 10 weeks, we have really worked very hard to uncover all our blocks and limiting beliefs. And that was blood, sweat and tears and sometimes very uncomfortable truths. And we have peeled off so many layers like an onion. And now when it comes to that point when you stand up and proclaim out loud into the world, into the ether, I am a creative, I am an artist. Those tiny voices of those awful limiting beliefs and all those blocks that we used to have before we embarked on the artist's way, you don't get them any longer, or they're not as strong. So there is this sense of floating and freedom and flow when you say it, and you're like, I don't care what anybody says, I am who I am.
I am who I am.
What's that song?
I am what I am, and what I am
takes no excuses.
Exactly. So we are here in the week of autonomy, and I think let's just kick off by explaining, what does autonomy mean?
Autonomy is the condition or quality of being autonomous. It also means independence. So what is autonomous?
Let's find out. Autonomous means not controlled by others or outside forces, being independent in mind or judgment, self-directed.
Autonomy comes from a Greek word, autonomia, which means independence. We can also trace it even further, break it down into 2 parts. Autos, which means self, and nomos, custom law. Self-governance.
Yes.
Independence. Beautiful, isn't it?
Sovereignty.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Well, clearly we do have to be extremely autonomous as artists.
As people.
Well, as people as well. Sovereignty is, I think, our natural state. We're self-governing and all-knowing.
I love that.
So let's delve into different ways of looking at acceptance.
Julia explores different approaches to self-acceptance. We accept ourselves as artists and realise that most of the time the social norms and expectations do not fit our artistic beingness.
Oh my goodness, yes. We do stand out, don't we, sometimes?
Oh, yes.
It can be the way you dress, or even just the way you approach life and view life, or the way you articulate your relationship to life.
Definitely, yeah. Because of that, we need to examine what works for us in the everyday world.
Yes.
That everyday world that we often find pretty tough as artists.
Yeah, look, again, we go back to money, as we do. Very early in my career, I had to come to terms with the fact that my money flows will be inconsistent and irregular in my creative career.
Yeah, but you've managed to transition though now.
It took me a while.
Yeah.
Because I was a bit nervous. In a 9-to-5 existence, people can rely on a regular paycheck. But I was like, you just don't know where your money's going to come in. So I thought to myself, I perhaps need a little bit of financial guidance. And I sat down and I love my spreadsheets. So I just spread out my financial vision and flows. And I felt a little bit more in control. But I must say, and Julia actually speaks to this in this section, it was the faith and it was the trust that I had to rely on more than anything. Knowing that I'm doing my work and everything's going to be taken care of.
What's really important to remember is that our pay is the work we produce and not necessarily the money.
Yeah.
It's that joy you feel when you're creating, and then when you've created something that's finished, if it's ever finished. But when you've decided that particular thing is finished and you look at it and that's your payoff, that's your pay, knowing that that's done. Getting paid for it financially is a bonus, it's a boon,
Whether it gets any rewards or doesn't, we have to actually come to terms with the fact that our work might not sell and we might not get work despite our work being excellent and despite ourselves being truthful to our authenticity. It's sometimes such a hit and miss situation. And Jo, it was a process for me to learn not to quantify myself by the amount of money I had in my bank account.
Which is a tough one to relearn, isn't it? Because we've been taught our whole lives essentially that you have to have money in the bank.
Yeah, it took me a while because it's just the societal subtle indoctrination,
Yeah.
not to equal my own value to the amount of money that they're sitting or not sitting most of the time as an artist in my bank account. And that's the one I think that we grapple with the most.
Definitely. Well, Julie has a lovely pearl of wisdom, and she says, I have to free myself from determining my value and the value of my work by my work's market value. The idea that money validates my credibility is very hard to shake.
I couldn't agree more with this. I wish I had actually done The Artist's Way when I was still,
When you bought the book.
10 years ago, and I think even longer than that.
Yeah.
That would have helped me a lot. But there you go. We start our journeys when we're ready.
Absolutely.
For sure.
It's so important to remember that money shouldn't be our motivation to produce work. If a creative work is asking to be born, it is our duty to manifest it. It's hard though, isn't it? Because people expect us to be motivated by money. And I think they don't understand the fact that we are not necessarily motivated by money. You're motivated to be an actor because you want to act. Not because you want fame and adulation.
But also, you do not sit down and paint only when somebody pays you to paint. Exactly.
No, I paint because I have to paint.
Yeah.
And if somebody likes it and says, can I buy that?
Yeah.
Yes.
But look at us. We have decided to embark on this podcast journey.
Yeah.
This is our first stab at it.
Yeah.
We are not doing this because somebody's paying us.
We're doing it for the love.
But we are doing it because we love creating. And in the process of creating this podcast, we got to be so creative. We learned how to edit sound. We learned how to do graphic design on Canva.
Yeah.
We've learned about how the whole podcasting world works.
Yes.
We've learned how to write copy for a Medium blog page.
Yes.
Again, the motivation isn't the money. It was just something within us that wanted to be expressed and born.
And because we love talking.
Exactly. That is so true. I guess the other thing that's really interesting to examine is in terms of the credibility of our work. Of course, we put it out there and we would like people to receive it, but it's us.
Yeah.
And us alone who determines the value of our work.
For sure.
So I guess, Joe, the most famous story that illustrates that is the story of Van Gogh.
Yeah, the man who didn't have any adulation or praise in his lifetime.
So I think this also speaks to that impulse that we want to create. And if we've got an idea and if we've got an impulse to create something or this urge, remember, it's our artistic child that's speaking to us. And as all children, it's impatient and it wants to create now. So you might have a deadline and you're working on a project that you're being paid for, but you get this incredible inspiration that cuts through it. And it's so impatient to come out.
Yeah.
So we're learning to actually balance that and navigate that. Try to find some sort of dialogue and compromise between those things needing to survive in the physical universe, which needs us to earn money.
Yeah.
But also be that child that when a child sees a shiny toy, oh, I want to play with it. I want to play with it now.
Yes. Well, I think you and I have both experienced in the past few weeks very much that thing where we've just wanted to be creating and painting or whatever, and have just had to do it at some point in some way, and possibly at the detriment of other stuff, but who cares? Your artist needs to come out, needs to burst forth.
So we do need to structure our lives so that we balance the creative needs of our artist child with the daily grind.
Yeah, definitely.
In this section, Julia gives us lots of personal tips on how to nurture our artistic self-acceptance and autonomy.
Surround yourself with people who nurture you and your imagination.
Exactly. Hopefully by now we would have done that through all the exercises and set the boundaries.
And the sacred circle.
Absolutely. So know your strengths and weaknesses and make peace with those. You might be a bad cook, but extremely skilled as a poet.
Yeah.
So different ingredients, but same principle.
Creating. There we go.
Rhythm and rhyme.
Oh, I like that. Keep feeding your creativity by poking in dead ends. Things that other people might not find interesting, but they make you explore.
It's those little idiosyncrasies that we have that other people don't understand.
Yeah. Buying nonsensical items because they inspire you and tell a story.
Oh, I know. Sorts of tat around your house.
My house.
My house.
Cheeky bleater.
So also we can capture meaningful moments by creating art. It's actually dipping into other artistic expressions in order to capture that moment.
Yeah.
So you might not necessarily be an artist in terms of painting or watercoloring, or you might be inspired to write a poem. Who cares? Just write it, even if it is quote unquote bad.
Yeah.
Express yourself.
Even if I want to dance balletically around the house, even if I'm not particularly good, who cares?
That's a lovely one. That's what I will very often do in my kitchen. Just start dancing and think I'm on the stage.
Oh, yes. When I was a child, I used to perform songs from the musicals in my grandparents' hay barn, standing up there on the hay, performing every day. I used to love it.
The more and more I delved into the sections this week, I realised this really does speak to the fact that artists, creatives have got this eternal, innocent child within them.
Definitely.
And when you look at a child and the way it relates to the world, it's constantly playing.
Ooh, yes.
Right? Everything is a toy. We can also regard other forms of artistic expression as our toys. Whether we technically, quote unquote, are professional in it or amateur in it or having a first go at them, we can use that to enhance our creativity. Most of the things about the acting discipline that I know, I've actually learned through dancing.
That's great, isn't it?
So there could be other vias and roundabouts into your quote-unquote professional art.
Yes, I was inspired by poetry to paint something.
I love that. I love that fact that you can read a poem and then an image pops up in your mind and you paint it.
Yeah, and the other way round, my husband, Con, has been inspired by my paintings to write poetry.
Wow. Well, there you go. It's like that infinity sign, constantly flowing. So Julia does say, as an artist, my self-respect comes from doing the work.
Yeah.
So, we are talking about self-acceptance. This is where it comes from. Self-acceptance is just do the work.
Do the work.
And also be richly supported. If you get rich, fantastic, well done. But if you're richly supported by having all your lovely artistic tools established and around you, you've got your sacred circle and your life is set up in such a way that it enhances you as a creative, it will reflect in your art.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your work will become dull and you may fall into resentment.
Or no one wants to fall into resentment.
Nope. So constantly allow your artist child to play.
Yes. Well, the more you do that, the more responsible a grown-up you'll be. If you acknowledge your artist child and you allow that to be within you, then you can adult better.
Yes,
Really.
it's so true.
Yeah.
And, we have to come to terms that we will not fall within the society's definition of an adult.
No. Well, we're not supposed to just dash all fun to the curb when we become adults.
Also, part of self-acceptance is realizing that we are not a garden variety human. Yeah?
I like that very
So
much.
we ought to really work on resisting any attempts by the society to normalize us, because most of the time our free expression will make other people feel uncomfortable.
So be it.
Art does grind on people because it shines a light at their failed responsibility.
Afraid so, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, self-nurture, self-respect are your tools and the remedy.
Do not sell your soul. It will make you hate yourself.
Absolutely. It definitely will. Julia says, when we are not creating, artists are not always very normal or very nice to ourselves or others.
That's the self-hate. That's that unexpressed resentment. Let's not sugarcoat it.
You kind of become passive-aggressive or even aggressive.
Absolutely. It's a lovely week where we now really round off everything that we've dealt with in the previous weeks, and we see how our hard work has paid off.
Yes, definitely. Because art is our vocation.
A
and
calling.
We can't breathe or live without it. And when it's curtailed by others, we fight for our lives.
Oh, we do.
Put 'em up, put 'em up.
Like
boom, boom, boom.
rabid dogs. We do. We become...
Like Mama Bears.
Well, I've been in those situations.
You're supposed to fight for that which you love. If you've nurtured and loved your artist child, then it is your right to fight for it.
Absolutely. And also one thing that helps us with navigating that attempt at normalizing us as artists and creatives is questioning. Always question life, always question authority, and question the accepted norms of behavior.
Definitely.
Ask why. And also, when you look at the game of life and see how serious people get about it, it's very difficult not to find it a bit silly.
Yeah, a bit silly.
Quite silly, I guess.
Very silly. Another one of Julia's pearls of wisdom, she says, to be an artist is to risk admitting that much of what is money, property, and prestige strikes you as just a little silly.
Is that striving to reach a title or a certain rank in the society, a certain position? For those people, that's what gives them self-acceptance and some sort of sense of security. We are all about stepping outside those boxes and trying to live as freely, as undefined as possible.
And unencumbered.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Julia also says that we recognize the particular and appreciate the peculiar in life. I love it.
Being peculiar and you being particular.
There you go. We've got it sussed there. We've got the balance.
We have.
This section is all about letting ourselves do our art.
Yes.
Let's not kill our dreams if we do not get external approval or acceptance.
No, indeed. Our creativity is a gift from God or the life force or the creator. And being creative and practicing our art is our way of saying thank you. You have to accept this covenant and truly accept yourself, and opening ourselves up to the creative flow that is wanting to flow through us.
It's true. And when we look at it from that perspective, which is just so broad and wide and expansive, there is so much scope for play.
Yes.
And
play
the possibility.
Away. Oh, yes.
So we are also looking at success. Because success is a bit of a trap and can curb our autonomy.
It certainly can.
And our independence if we are really focused only on success.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Julia says that creativity is a spiritual practice. It is not something that can be perfected, finished, and then set aside. And it is in her experience that we reach plateaus of a creative attainment only to have a certain restlessness set in. Yes, we are successful. Yes, we have made it, but...
Oh, there is always that but, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you finish a painting or I finish my project and what's next? I want to try this, I want to try that. In order to complete a cycle of action, you have to complete it. You cannot just move from one thing into the next without actually having closure over it.
Yeah.
It's almost like an unfinished sentence that keeps on lingering in me. We've never finished that conversation. You never closed off a cycle of action.
Wow, it's so good to recognize it.
I was thinking about what is it that drives us to continuously keep on going, and I linked it to Mother Nature. Mother Nature doesn't just go, okay, 4 seasons, 1 planet, just gonna do once. And that's it, folks. The rest is nothing.
That's all, folks.
So creativity is constantly creating. There's never a stop.
No, that's true. You're right. You have to finish one cycle to begin another one, to
Yeah.
be another one, to be another one. It's like there's no tomorrow. We're never there because we are never satisfied with what we have achieved. Well, not all the time, but if you're fixated on success, then that will be the case.
Yes, and we always want more. It's that exploration, that curiosity of a child. We want to see how certain toys work if you combine them differently.
Yeah.
You know.
A hybrid. Creative hybrids, definitely. Yeah. When you avoid the need to expand as an artist, it leads to inertia and stagnation and contraction, and really we are expansive and we're constantly expanding, so that's the worst thing we can be doing, isn't it, to stop that.
As an actor, you never stop training. I never ever stopped training. I didn't walk out of drama school and say, okay, I know it all now and that's it. In fact, you realize you haven't got a clue. And then you need to actually undo everything and unpick everything that you've learned. Funny enough. But that's that constant expansion, that constant need to just poke in dark corners and see what's there.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Just when we think we've completed something or put to bed the questions which have beleaguered us, they return again and we ask ourselves, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, we have itchy feet. We want more. We want to explore our art further. Through that exploration, we get tested.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of being on the edge.
Yes.
And not knowing what's going to happen.
Definitely.
I think predictability is like a weed killer to an artist.
It's boring, isn't it?
My goodness, it kills you.
Yeah, definitely it does. Because as artists, we're in perpetual motion. We can't really rest. If we stop, Julia says, like sharks, we'll sink to the bottom and die.
I love
That's
that.
a nice morbid thought for us, isn't it?
Our imagination is not tame and it cannot be controlled.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Definitely
If
not.
it wants to take you down some unexplored path, it will.
It will, yeah. Because you've the imagination of a child. Of course we have. And it's constantly seeking new experiences and new sensations.
Absolutely. Sometimes we have to balance our artistic integrity with the actual need to make money.
For sure. But creativity is not a business. However, through creating, business can be generated.
Absolutely.
We often forget the reason that we're creating is because we need to create. And then we lose focus from that and put it onto success. It can be totally detrimental to our artist child.
We do exist outside the hierarchical structure of this society.
Definitely.
And very often when you hit success and people respond really well to it, you perhaps are expected to repeat it in the same way like a photocopier.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do.
Yeah, it really is. Because if somebody's seen a painting that they love, but it's been sold and they want the painting, they're going to get something similar to, but they're never going to be able to get exactly that.
You do not have a copier in your head.
No.
Each stroke tells a different story, I presume.
Definitely. Everyone is unique.
Yes.
And I like the fact that every one of my paintings is unique.
So if we do actually get focused just on the economics of our artistic life and we're like, okay, I just want to make as much money as possible, it will make our work dull and kind of cookie cutter type of work.
Don't want to do that.
Do you know what? Some artists, creatives do find themselves in that predicament and actually they make it work. And I take my hat off to them.
Definitely.
But I think it's always worth examining that eventually at some point they will want to creatively expand. I guarantee you they'll have that niggling need to just try something else.
What I love about creativity is that it's not linear. It is a spiral. It is a scattergram. And it takes us where it wants to go.
Yes.
I like that. I want to be taken on a creative adventure.
Me too. And there isn't a prescribed formula to live by as a creative.
No.
Yes, when it comes to your technique, because every art is rooted in some form of technique.
Yes.
When we master this technique, we then become improvisers and we become the alchemists of it.
Lovely.
You know, but that's something in my experience that takes a lot of work. Meisner said it takes 20 years to become an actor.
Wowzers.
That is very true in my experience. So, morning pages.
The morning pages do help keep us on course, don't they? And they adjust our course so that we're constantly in our artistic integrity, balancing our inner demands with our outer demands. Like what else is going on in life?
That's it. The morning pages do
They
keep
really
us
do.
on course. I love them. Well, I've really loved the Zen of Sports
Me too.
section.
I love it.
It's just wonderful to know that you can turn your own exercise routine, whatever it is, into more of a active meditation.
How wonderful. I often find myself thinking thoughts and ideas pop to me when I'm walking or, I'm in nature.
Yes.
Definitely. So, Amelia, let's find out, what does Zen mean?
Definition of Zen. It's a school of Mahayana Buddhism that asserts that enlightenment can be attained through meditation, self-contemplation and intuition, rather than through faith and devotion, and that is practiced mainly in China, Japan, Korea and Vietnam. It's also called Zen Buddhism. And then the second definition, an approach to an activity, skill or subject that emphasizes simplicity and intuition rather than conventional thinking or fixation on goals.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at the derivation as well. So it's from the Sanskrit dhyana, which means thought or meditation. And the root of it means to see, look, which is rather lovely, isn't
I
it?
love it. Julia speaks to the fact that you can make it into something that makes you more in present time, but it is through looking and observing.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So when we get blocked in life, not just creatively, artistically, in any way, shape or form, we go into our heads.
We do.
We become very cerebral.
That's right. And the chitter-chatter in our mind is relentless.
So Julia says we need to move out of the heads and into a body of work, which means that we must move into our body and get the body moving.
Definitely.
If you're mentally stuck, the best way to get unstuck is by getting your body stretching, walking, running, whichever way you prefer your exercise.
That's right, because Julia says this beautiful thing. The brain is reached through rhythm, through rhyme, not reason.
So we are looking at integrating repetitive and regular actions in our artistic life to access our artistic brain.
Lovely.
To stop that chitter-chatter.
Definitely. So what sort of things can we do that are repetitive, that are regular actions that we can use as meditation?
That will just get us into that state of flow when our mind goes into an imagination world. Scraping, peeling, scrubbing, knitting, needlework, ironing, which is my favourite.
And mine.
Driving, showering, walking.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, these help us transition from the logic brain to the creative brain state, to the theta state.
Exactly. So the main message weaving through the artist way is that creativity is rooted in action and that action is the remedy for our creative blocks.
Yeah, the best way to get unstuck is to start moving with our body. When you're sat there, not able to generate any inspiration or enthusiasm, if you get up off your bottom and stretch or pop out for a walk in the fresh air, you will feel better and you will automatically feel much more inspired.
Absolutely.
Julia's Pearl of Wisdom 1 quickly notes that when the mind is focused on other, the self often comes into a far more accurate focus.
Oh, yes. So what sports can we integrate in our lives? us. Running could help us with
communion with nature and feed our souls.
swimming,
Helps us dive into our own clarity.
cycling,
Our mind comes up with solutions.
walking.
Processing information and settling the mind.
If done as a meditative practice, our exercise heightens our senses.
Definitely.
We get this sensation of a sharp focus.
Ooh, it's wonderful. So exercise teaches the rewards of process, Julia says. It teaches the sense of satisfaction over small tasks well done.
Yeah, while we are practicing, we're also exercising our creative patience, and we are connecting to a sense of universal creativity, and we are celebrating our own capacity to feel.
Absolutely. And exercise as well, let's not forget, brings an endorphin high and a sense of well-being. You just feel so much better. I like to walk through a little woodland.
Yes.
And I really enjoy it because you can just slow down. You can hear nature. Everything's alive. Exercise works because we change perspective. We're able to listen to solutions and problems clearly.
Exactly. We changed our daily scenery and we are gathering food for thought while we walk. Julia closes the section by giving us a definition out of Webster's 9th, and she defines exercise as the act of bringing into play or realizing in action.
That's absolutely spot on, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So we had a little look to see what we could find when it came to the definition of exercise. And this is what it said verbatim. Physical, mental or spiritual activity, not to be confused with exorcise to expel an evil spirit.
We're not exorcising, but we might be.
You might end up exorcising some things that don't need to be in you.
Exorcise through exercise.
Definitely.
But as a verb, it means to subject to practice or exertion in order to train, strengthen, or develop. And it comes from Latin, meaning training or physical exercise, for example, of soldiers or horsemen. But also, it can be traced all the way back to play.
Ooh, yeah.
It also means to keep busy, keep at work, oversee, engage busily, train, follow, carry into effect, disturb, disquiet. Ooh, from ex, meaning off, and arcere, to keep away, prevent, contain, enclose.
Isn't that weird? Keep away, prevent, contain, enclose all seem to be at odds with each other.
But that's where the exorcise comes in the exercise.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Let's keep the evil spirits at bay.
Yes, absolutely.
It's very contemplative, isn't it?
It really is, yes.
Lots of food for thought can be derived from derivations of words.
It certainly can. And that leads us rather beautifully into us taking a little moment to slow down.
Yes.
And have a wandering pause to reflect.
Oh, I like one of those.
Yes, we need to listen to the serene chimes of your bell now, Amelia, please.
Ooh, the serene chimes of the Feng Shui bell. And breathe.
And breathe indeed. So we would like you to take time to have a little think about what do you do when it comes to your meditative practice whilst you're moving?
Do you already have a sport or exercise routine that you practice regularly?
How can you make that exercise routine or sport more deliberate?
What can you do so that you bring it closer to the concept of communion between you and nature and between you and the present moment?
How can you make this exercise routine or sport a more sensory action?
Oh, yes.
And nice things to think about.
I just love the whole idea of the sensory experience when we are out there exercising.
Yeah, using all of your senses. I think we don't do that enough.
No. So, yes, have fun. Julia's actually already given us some help that leads us toward a more sensory life.
She certainly has. And she says that we need to build our artist's altar.
Yes, I think that was the most fun part of this week for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't actually manage to build my artist's altar.
Says Jo, but you should see her home.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Maybe I didn't need to build it because it was already there.
It's just everywhere. There's paintings everywhere. There is little knickknacks.
I mean, my bookcase is really my artist's altar, I suppose. It is an altar to all of the incredible talent. You know, these people who've written beautiful stories throughout the ages.
Our own artistic altar actually reminds us daily that our art is all about action.
Yeah.
Because if we tend to it and if we commit to a daily ritual, we are already in that doing mode constantly.
Definitely.
You can be as creative as you want with your artistic creative altar because it's the action that we take with our artistic altar that counts.
Definitely. Actually, Julia immediately instills in us a daily ritual because the morning pages are a daily ritual. We're already on that path from the get-go.
So let's see what the word ritual means. It's a ceremony in which the actions and wording follow a prescribed form and order. It's the body of ceremonies or rites used in a place of worship or by an organization according to Catholic ritual. Another definition is a book of rites or ceremonial forms, or the one that I really love, it's a set of actions that are conducted routinely in the same manner. This is what we speak to.
Definitely.
Yes. Let's have a look at the derivation.
Yes, it's directly from Latin, ritualis, relating to religious rites, from ritus, religious observance or ceremony, custom or usage. Perhaps the root of it is from to reason, count.
I love that, reason, count, especially in the word count, because it does imply something that we do routinely in the same manner.
Yeah.
Could be the act of counting, but also to count, meaning that something's got relevance to something
Yeah,
else.
absolutely. Yeah. I like that very much, that it has a relevance.
Yeah.
And remember that exercise is essentially a ritual.
Absolutely.
So we go back to that, which is fantastic.
So the altar in our house, however and wherever you want to create, it could just be a crystal, or it could be your favorite book or a teddy bear. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the point of it is that it centers us around the rituals. And we use those elements that feel holy and happy to us.
Yeah. Becoming spiritually centered through creative rituals of our own choosing.
Yes.
So important.
So when we are putting our artistic altar together, we also go back to the fact that we are fed by images. The more images you can use in your artistic altar practice, the better.
Definitely. It's lovely.
And also, Julia speaks to something very, very beautiful. She says we need to unlearn our old notion that spirituality and sensuality do not mix. An artist's altar should be a sensory experience.
Oh, absolutely.
I love it. Things that you can touch.
Well, she says we're meant to celebrate the good things of this earth. Pretty leaves, rocks, candles, sea treasures. All of these things remind us of the creator, the life force.
Yeah, this is how we actually keep moving in the altar. Have a movement practice, because it is this tactile, physical items that we have and place there that make us stand up and go and touch them. I guess when we are putting together our altar, the best way to do it is so that we have a way of engaging with it. So it's not just a pretty shrine that you put in the corner of your room and you never touch it.
Yes.
So touch, engage with your altar.
I've got some crystals. I have pictures, photographs. Got some fans. I've got a feather. I've got a beautiful bowl that my husband carved. I've got all manner of things, actually.
I have an orchid. Of course, my feng shui bell lives on my altar. I have 2 elephants. I have a beautiful tiny perfume bottle that was gifted to me by a friend of mine from Egypt.
Ooh.
One of the elephants is actually from India. And I have that lovely print with my initial. I think you gifted me that.
I did, yeah.
And then I have my favorite jewellery in my little jewellery box there. So whatever makes me happy, when I look at it, it just brings a smile to my face. And I do very often engage with the crystals.
I love it. Amelia, did you find any tasks particularly exciting this week?
I love the creativity notebook.
Ooh.
I love that. You would basically look at your life and divide it in 7 categories: health, possessions, leisure, relationships, creativity, career, and spirituality. And then you let yourself dream in those sections.
Yes.
Dream about what you want to do. And you write them down. You list 10 wishes. And don't put it away somewhere you can't find it. Put it somewhere like on your work desk or somewhere where you can always see it. And then for me, it means a lot, because if I get too busy and I step outside of that balance between my inside needs and outside needs, and I'm more survival focused rather than focused on my creativity, I can go to that notebook and go, no wonder I'm so grumpy or displeased, because I've stopped dreaming. So let's see, what can I do? What action can I take in whichever area? It doesn't really matter, because all of them speak to life. You can pick and choose. So I love that one. That's really nice.
That's really good. Yeah.
What about you?
Writing out my artist prayer and putting it in my purse.
Ooh.
That's a really nice thing to have.
I don't know about you, Joe, but I feel so inspired. Again, reinforced inspiration. I guess we will not have any problem now reaching.
All right, Amelia, what do I see before my very eyes? It's only the inspiration station. Toot toot. Don't know where that was from, but we'll go with it.
Well, we've both been inspired by poetry this week, I see.
We have indeed. I was inspired by a poem that is in a wonderful book that I read when I was a teenager called The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, and it was made into a film. And this poem inspired me to paint. So this is Nothing Gold Can Stay, and it's by Robert Frost. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf. So Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day. Nothing gold can stay. It always makes me feel really emotional reading that poem. It's very beautiful. The emotion is often because of the scene in The Outsiders. It's so emotive. But it made me think about nature's green is gold.
Yes.
And how beautiful an image that is. And so I painted a piece that actually is the background for the Creative Wanderer image. Green at the bottom, and then it sort of morphed into yellows and then gold at the top.
It's such a lovely poem. You know, there's a sense of melancholy to it, because that's true. Mother Nature never stands still. Everything is in a constant state of change and flux.
Yeah.
And then to see things at their very first blush.
Beautiful.
You know, that luster and that kind of glossy, waxy feel and look of those first leaves in the spring.
Yeah.
But then whoosh, you blink and it's gone, and there's something else that replaces it. And I guess it speaks to that need for us to slow down and just take it in.
Definitely.
It's there for birds, the bees, for animals, but also for us. It's such an incredible gift that Mama Nature gives us for free.
Yes.
So funny enough, my poem this week as well speaks to this need to stand still, to slow down, to find awe and inspiration in everything. Even if I'm rushing to a certain destination, I can still be in the moment.
Lovely.
Now, this is an oldie but goldie. I'm sure most of our listeners have heard this poem. It's by William Henry Davis. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare, no time to stand beneath the boughs and stand as long as sheep and cows, no time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass, no time to see in broad daylight streams full of stars like skies at night, no time to turn at beauty's glance, no time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare.
That really is an absolute beauty, isn't it?
It's gorgeous. It's so simple.
It is. It is a golden oldie. It's beautiful. So, yeah.
Just take note. Take a leaf out of the animals' book of life. They do live in the moment.
They do. But we've come to this moment, Amelia.
Oh, no, not again.
We have. We're at the end of the podcast for this week. Another week is done. Week 11. Can you believe it?
I cannot believe it. This podcast has whizzed by. I absolutely loved it.
Me too. So, Amelia, what have we got coming up next week? The last week.
Oh my goodness. Coming up next week, week 12 of The Artist Way.
Wow.
Recovering a sense of faith. We have reached week 12, our dear creative wanderers. Congratulations and well done on persisting on this remarkable creative journey with us. Thank you so much.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
A round of applause. We hope you have experienced many a transformation and many a breakthrough on your wandering with us. So next week, we start by examining the roles faith, trust and mystery play in our creative life. We also dig deep and take a close look at one of the last remaining vestiges of creative blocks, doubt. Ooh, that one always sneaks in at the very last minute. We part on a high note by affirming the power of imagination in our lives and life in general, by reminding ourselves that the way forward is to create. Yay!
That sounds like it's going to be a doozy of a week.
It's going to be a great week.
Thank you for wandering with us, and remember to
always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder.
See you next time.